Good afternoon and welcome to Norgren Solutions for Single-Use Fluid Control, a webinar exploring the Acro line of pinch valves designed for single-use systems. I'm Tom Kieser, Senior Application Engineer here at Norgren, and I'll be presenting today's webinar. Again, my name is Tom Kieser. I'm a Senior Application Engineer with Norgren, covering the Acro line of pinch valves. I've been with Norgren for nearly 10 years now, supporting all aspects of design and manufacturing for the Acro product line. To start off our agenda for this afternoon, we're going to do an introduction to non-wetted pinch valves and single-use systems, and then discuss tubing selection. Then we'll get into the Acro line of pinch valves, cover a product spotlight of our newer motorized proportional pinch valve, and then get into some customization options before we touch on other Norgren fluid handling products. So let's jump right in. Non-wetted pinch valves. First off, what is a pinch valve? A pinch valve is a type of isolation valve that uses a pinching motion to control fluid flow. These are also known as pinch clamps, safety clamps, and tube clamps. They are defined by their unique characteristic of pinching, typically leveraging a soft rubber or plastic barrier to contact the media while the valve operates. In industrial applications, one of the common pinch valves we see is what we call a sleeve valve, where a rubber sleeve is in contact with the media. In bioprocessing and medical applications, non-wetted pinch valves use tubing from a sterile tube set as the barrier between the valve's moving components and the media. As a comparison to the very common diaphragm valve, the pinch valve has no direct contact with the media, so you can maintain a sterile fluid path with zero dead space through the entire valve. For a sleeve type pinch valve, when the process is over, the fluid path will need to be sterilized, either by autoclaving or by other sterilizing method. For a non-wetted pinch valve, the tubing simply needs to be replaced with maybe a slight wipe down of the area, making them ideal for single-use systems. For those of you unfamiliar with single-use systems, they are becoming more and more popular in the biopharma industry. They leverage single-use disposables to limit cross-contamination, minimize cleaning, and speed up process changeovers, resulting in lower total processing costs. Beyond containers, filters, and fittings, tubing is what moves the material from place to place in the system. As you can imagine, there are a number of tubing brands on the market and plenty of manufacturers willing to help customize tube sets for you. So let's talk a little bit about tubing compatibility with pinch valves and how to select the proper tubing for your application or project. One of our guiding principles with the Acro line has been that we do not want to specify the tubing you need to use with our products. We're here to partner with you to find a pinch valve solution for your specific project or system needs. Not all processes and media are the same, so we expect that the tubing requirements will vary based on the application. So we've manufactured pinch valves to work with a wide variety of soft and flexible 45 to 75 shore diameter, braided and non-braided tubes and hoses up to 1 5/8 inch OD and handling pressures up to 100 PSI and beyond. If you're still having a hard time kind of imagining what types of tubing will work with pinch valves, think about a peristaltic pump. If the tubing can work with a peristaltic pump, it can generally work with a pinch valve. Just like other areas of product design, it is very possible to over-engineer your tubing requirements. When you are selecting your tubing, you will want to consider some of the following. Media pressure. What is the maximum pressure range in the tubing during normal operation? What about pressure spikes? What about flow rate? How much material do you need to move through the tubing? How big does the tube need to be to move the media? What kind of media is it? And are you moving blood, cell culture, or a caustic solution that might damage the internals of the tubing? What types of cleaning agents are required for the process? Will they damage the outside of the tubing and degrade the material faster than a lighter cleaning solution? And how long will you need the tubing to last? Tubing will not last forever. The nature of pinching will cause the tubing to wear out over time. So you need to consider how often you will be replacing the tubing. Is it months? Is it a number of cycles? And what does the replacement process look like? These are all good questions to have in mind when you're selecting a tubing material to help make sure you're using the proper material for the process. We've designed an entire product line around being able to handle as many tube materials, pressures, and medias as possible, and have a pinch valve for every application. The Acro line of pinch valves consists of 3 different types: solenoid, pneumatic, and proportional. Each of these valves consists of an actuator with integrated pinching geometry, making for extremely compact designs for their pinching capabilities. Solenoid valves come in several variants: normally closed, normally open, toggle, and cassette. They are designed for continuous duty or low duty high force output at 12 and 24 volt. They handle up to around 3/8 inch OD tubing and up to around 65 Shore durometer. We have 3 product lines, starting with the in development entry-level 200 series, mid-range 600 series, and top of the line 900 series. All models are REACH and RoHS compliant and CE certified. They are ideal for medical, food and beverage, and analytical markets. For low-duty, non-continuous duty valves, we offer a solenoid PWM driver. These provide circuit consolidation while reducing power consumption, lowering heat generation, and effectively making a non-continuous duty, high-force output solenoid valve into a continuous duty version. They are stackable and can be factory customized for your needs. Our pneumatic line also comes in several variants: normally closed, normally open, and double acting. These handle large braided and non-braided tubes up to 1 5/8 inch OD and 75 Shore durometer. These are ideal for the larger bioprocessing systems of tomorrow. The integrated actuator design provides high pinching forces in a small package, effectively reducing system weight and footprint. They are available in aluminum and stainless steel versions and are also tiered in the same entry-level 200 series, mid-range 600 series, and top-of-the-line 900 series models, servicing all bioprocessing, industrial, and analytical market needs. They are REACH and RoHS compliant and available with FDA compliant lubricants. Our pneumatic lines are also compatible with 4mm switch packages, and we offer NPN, PNP, and reed sensors with flying leads or custom length mating cables. These are ideal to provide real-time feedback of the valve's physical position during system operation. When we start to look at larger tubing, operator safety is a primary consideration for us. The Acro 900 series line of pneumatic pinch valves comes with an optional safety cover to address any pinch hazards when your system is in use. These are typically available on models with tube slots greater than 1/2 inch. For our largest model, we offer integrated safety features, as can be seen on the right: a lockout mechanism to provide inadvertent actuation, a sliding cover to prevent side pinch points, and a front hinged cover to hide the pinching surfaces during operations. Let us know if you have a specific safety requirement for your project, and we'll help to accommodate any safety needs. And now we've come to our proportional electric valve spotlight. This product line was launched at the end of 2019, intended to control flow rather than simply turn it on and off. These valves are based off a linear stepper motor and cover the same tube materials and sizes as our pneumatic valve line. They run on a 24-volt supply to a motor controller, and the position is controlled by an analog input signal in either 0 to 10 volt or 4 to 20 milliamp ranges. They have up to 1,000 discrete positions over the length of the stroke and can change positions at 20 millimeters per second. So let's take a look at the full product line. The line consists of 4 frame sizes, NEMA 8, 11, 17, and 23, offered in both single and double stack motor configurations. These are sized based on force output requirements for a range of tube sizes, covering tubing from 3/32 inch OD up to 1 5/8 inch OD, braided and non-braided tubes and hoses. All models are offered in aluminum and stainless steel and are available with FDA compliant lubricants. These valves are specified for use with a dedicated motor controller with factory customizable programs. They come with a cable kit that can be customized to meet whatever lengths you require for your system, typically in 1 meter or half meter increments. These valves are RoHS and CE compliant. Some of the benefits of this product line are its wide range of tubing compatibility, front of panel washdown, quiet operation, and precise flow and pressure control. They are ideal for filling and filtration applications that require a specific flow or pressure. And now, ideally, I'd like to show you a video, but since webinars do not always work very well with videos, we opted to compromise, and I took a series of photos to help show the operation of the proportional electric product. So this demo will have will be our PE916 model, which has a NEMA 17 double stack motor on it. I have some braided tubing installed here for the demo. The image on the left is fully open and the image on the right is fully closed. And so what we're going to do is take a look down the pipe of the tubing to see what the operation looks like. And so here the valve is positioned at approximately 50% into the stroke, or from an input standpoint, it's about 5 volts input. And these valves operate again on an analog input signal from 0 to 10 volts or 420 milliamps, depending on the controller program you've selected and depending on your system requirements. So as we step through positions of the valve, we're going to see the pinching surfaces slowly pinch and seal the tubing until it's fully closed. And I'll go back and forth a little bit just to kind of show the motion. And just imagine that you're seeing this on a video. So I'd like to take a look at some of the data that comes out of our product. The primary purpose of a proportional valve is to control flow and pressure. When we pull data from the operation of this valve, as I just showed you, we'll get the displayed flow, pressure, and position curves. Flow in red, pressure in blue, and valve position in green. And we see that around 5 volts input, the flow and pressure start to change up until around 7.5 or 8 volts, where the flow eventually stops. And this is an example of the flow and pressure curve as it relates to a linear position path for the valve. As we can see, there's a large area of the curve where the valve position is changing, but we're not actually seeing a result in the flow or the pressure. And so this tells us that although the tubing is actually being slightly pinched, we do not see an effect on the flow through the tubing. Now, this is just one example, and this will vary based on tube size, pressure, and most importantly, media type, how viscous the material is, how solid the material is, whether it's a water, a slurry, a powder. But it's kind of important to just understand how the operation of the product works. And so what we can do is effectively, if we're looking at a curve like this or a graph like this for flow and pressure, is we can effectively designate that left side of the curve as just some kind of dead area, where that area is useful for maybe tube loading, open and closed, but it's not really helping to control the flow. And that's the primary purpose of a proportional valve. So what can we do to optimize the performance of this product? Using our customized controller software configured to factory, we essentially remap the inputs to effectively start at 50% into the stroke. This means that the same 1,000 discrete positions I mentioned previously are now within half the length of the movement. So we get better resolution to control the flow and pressure through the tubing. And so again, this is just one example of a specific application for this product. But when we remap it, we now have more resolution where it matters the most. And so now we can incrementally step through the stroke instead of in 1 thou increments. In this case, it'll be 1/2,000th of an inch increments, giving us effectively twice the resolution that we had before. Now, every tube and application will be different. So we offer a variety of standard program options to help maximize the effectiveness of proportional control, typically in 25% or 50% increments. In most applications, the 1,000th of an inch incremental position will be enough to properly control flow and position. However, we can configure a customized program for your needs if a standard configuration is not ideal for your project. So whether it's 50, 60, 70% of the stroke, we have the ability to customize that based on your tubing and material and medias. And with that customized program discussion, we'll segue into product customization highlights. As I mentioned before, we've designed an entire product line around being able to handle as many tube materials, pressures, and medias as possible, and have a pinch valve for every application. The overall Acro product line was developed on customizations and deviations. Most of our business is in customizations of standard products. So if you have a unique need, let us know. We'll be happy to work with you and make sure that you get the right valve for your project. The first example here is one of our proportional valves. The standard offering is black anodized aluminum, but in this case, our customer needed stainless steel for washdown and also required FDA lubricants. So we released this unit in stainless steel to address sterility requirements. Most of our products have plastic, aluminum, and stainless steel variants. Just let us know if you have a specific material requirements and we can make sure that we can accommodate it. The next product was an example of one of our 600 series pneumatic valves. The customer was concerned about front of panel cleanliness, so we adapted the valve to have no screw holes front of the panel and created this front load pinch valve. It's threaded through a hole on the front of the panel and then secured from the back by 4 screws, and has a gasket on the front of the panel to prevent any liquid ingress from the front to the back. And the main takeaway here is we want to consider debris traps during design and cleanliness. We can help design a solution that best matches your cleaning processes and needs for your system. Our third product is adapted from our 600 series Solenoid line. This customer had a very tight space to fit a pinch valve. We were able to design a valve with a smaller housing, smaller coil, and then customize a mounting flange to work around other components. And you can see the cutout on the flange on the right side. So when designing your system, consider valve orientation and neighboring hardware. Sometimes you need to have a custom option. So if you need a custom mounting solution, custom flange, or other customized options on the product, it's likely that you're not the first to ask, and we may have a solution ready for you. And our last highlight is a custom valve manifold. This customer was designing a syringe filling system and had challenges with all the syringes filling at the same time. The middle ones kept filling faster than the outer ones. So they needed to put in shutoff valves in line with each syringe to close at the proper time. So we were able to work with them to put together a 10 valve manifold, complete with customized mounting bolt patterns, so the customer could simply drop the manifold into their system. So we're here and happy to partner with you on custom solutions and can help design and build system sub-assemblies to aid in overall system integration. We can also do custom cabling and harnessing as well. And so during your design process, just ask, where am I performing a process that someone else can do for me? We can perform a wide variety of system integration and value add processes for a number of our customers. So let us know what you need. And finally, we here at Norgren want to be your fluid control partner. We offer a variety of accessories to help with system assembly and integration, from fittings and mufflers to control valves and manifolds to custom fluid handling solutions. We're here to be your one-stop shop for all your fluid handling needs. So to recap, we discussed non-wetted pinch valves, how to choose the proper tubing for your project. We looked at the Acro line of solenoid and pneumatic pinch valves. We spotlighted the new Acro proportional pinch valve line and its ability to precisely control flow and pressure through tubing. We touched on a couple of custom projects we've worked on over the years. And lastly, we showed you the fluid control portfolio of Norgren. We hope that you've enjoyed today's presentation. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today. So at this time, I'd like to shift over to the Q&A session. All right, so I have one question that came in. Are driver boards required for solenoid valves? And the answer is no. Driver boards or PWM controllers are not required for solenoid pinch valves. It is a recommendation that we do provide kind of based on the application. So if you have a hard tube and you're working with one of our higher powered solenoids, it is important to make sure that you are working with, you're maintaining the proper heat generation and not over consuming power. So if you're doing a quick on and off operation of the flow, where the valve, let's say a normally closed valve, will open for just a brief moment to maybe drain a line or something like that, it's not required to have a driver board. And so you can do that operation, fairly rapid, maybe up to 20, 30 seconds with no considerations or concerns. But driver boards are really offered for when you have a long-term open. So let's say it's a safety device or a safety clamp of some kind, and the entire process you're running will just hold the valve in the open position for the bulk of the process and only close if there is an emergency shutoff of some kind. So driver boards not required, but they can be very helpful in the system design to make sure they don't overheat the product. All right, one question, another one coming in. Does Norgren offer tube and fittings for valves? Yes. So if the questions, if I'm not reading the question right, please please feel free to elaborate. Yes. So Norgren will offer tube fittings for. We do it for inch and metric products, so imperial and metric versions, and we can handle up to fittings up to through the Norgren product line. I know at least they go up to about a ½ inch, if not farther. And I'm not sure about the barb fittings. I can get a better answer for you on other types of inline products. But I know we've also done some custom tube sets for people in the past. So if you are looking at having a valve and a tube set provided with your valve product, we can help work on system integration, doing that subassembly for you. There's another question. What types of tubing do your valves work with? So we talked a little bit about the kind of characteristics of tubing and what to look for, but we've worked with a number of different tubing manufacturers over the years. Some of the most popular ones that we see are coming out of New Age Industries and Saint-Gobain. And so we've worked with non-braided, braided, double braided tubing. We're slowly starting to see an increase in tubing sizes. And so as the tubing starts to increase, additional forces are required. So we're always looking at generating that next larger pinch valve. But some of the most common tubing that we see on the market today is Advanasil and Advanapure, C-Flex, Farmed, STHT-R and C, both the Sanitec and the Tygon brands. And we're starting to see, we also see a lot of work with Dow Corning tubing as well. One question coming in is, are there any online tools to configure Acro products? On our current website, I do not believe that there is an online configurator, but in our catalogs that are available on the web page, we do have tools within that catalog to help configure the products. Most of the products do have a kind of smart naming convention and key based on the type. So you can use that product key to kind of lay out what you're looking for, and then you can submit it to our sales department, and they can help you finish off speccing the product to make sure it's right for your application. And so one of the other questions that we had pop up, do you have examples of Acro used in industrial applications, liquid dispense, so on? Yes, actually, our 600 series pneumatic product line was intended, originally designed for epoxy manufacturing or epoxy dispensing. And so that product line was intended for some very hard tubes, and we have experience working with epoxies. Epoxies are very difficult sometimes to work with because over time that material tends to set up against the exterior of the tubing. So depending on the size of the tubing, the amount of material you're trying to move through the tubing, you just have to consider that in your process. We've also done industrial toner applications as well. And so for industrial toner applications, being a kind of a powder mixture, sometimes the material can, as it gets compressed and condensed, pinch over pinch, can sometimes bind up in the tubing. So it's really important to use pneumatic-based products with those, because we know that using a pneumatic actuator, we can get the tubing to fully open more so than we can with a high-powered solenoid valve. So that is a really good point to bring up. And we've also done, in terms of liquid dispense operations, some of our 600 series solenoid valves are used in contact solution dispensing operations into those little contact container for contact lenses. Question on, do you have a trick to avoid sticking of silicone tube under pinch? Sticking tubing is always a challenge. Whenever you do bring the two walls of the tubing together, you will run into some challenges depending on the material of physically getting them to open back up again. And we've seen this a little bit more on the plastic tubes rather than the rubber-based tubes. So your silicones and some pump tubing typically don't have this problem. But when you start to work with a plastic PVC type tubing, C-Flex, we have seen that as an issue. And so typically in those applications, what we recommend is ensuring that you have a good pressure behind the tubing. So as the valve opens, you want to have some pressure in the line to kind of help force the tubing back to its open position. And once the seal breaks, the tubing usually does spring right back open to the proper position. Another question about motors, the difference between single and double stack motors. So we do offer the two different motor sizes. Typically in most applications, we recommend using a double stack motor. It just provides a little more force output. But the intent of the single and double stacks is that single stack motor itself for the proportional product line is a little bit smaller. So it provides a little more of a compact design, and it's a little bit lower in cost. But it's going to work only with your softer tubes. And so for most applications, if there's any questions, we do recommend using the larger double stack motors. That's going to get you the most bang for your buck in terms of being able to handle the larger braided tubes in addition to the softer non-braided tubes as well. All right, another question. What is the service life of pneumatic Acro valves? The service lifetime, I cannot recall off the top of my head what our official warranty is for the product line, but we've run several millions of cycles on the valves without any issues. And so the primary components of the especially our 900 series products that will degrade over time are going to be the springs and the O-rings. And we do offer options for service kits. So if you do have an Acro 900 series product, you can replace springs and O-rings as required, and they're designed to be fully serviceable. If you need any help servicing the products, we just ask you give us a call so we can help walk you through any safety concerns or considerations. For the other two product lines, the 200 series is intended to be non-serviceable, and that valve will last under the proper configurations using the proper air supply for several million cycles as well. Typically beyond the normal lifetime of a process that you would run. And let me see if there's anything else. Tubing. How often should tubing be replaced? So tubing is kind of tricky. Tubing tends to last a number of cycles, just really dependent on the application you're using it with. And so a braided tube will end up lasting or handling less cycles over its lifetime than a non-braided tube. And that's due to the lamination of the braid within the tubing. And so we've worked with applications that range in requirements from maybe about 10 cycles over the course of that tube set to well over 30,000. And so we do have a couple of tricks for customization that allow for longer lifetime products or longer lifetime tubing. And so we do offer what we call a bladed pinch ridge or anvil. So this would be the stationary pinching surface on the pinch valve. And so the blade is going to allow a little more force concentration to really pinch and seal your heavy duty reinforced braided tubes at high pressures. Whereas if you're using a soft silicone, you maybe don't need that. And so to enhance the product life, we will provide a rounded pinching surface to just help reduce the stress on the tubing. And so typical application of tubing, we recommend changing out after your processes will be one, or somewhere between 100 and 10,000 cycles, and it's really dependent on the tube material and the media that you're running through the tubing. All right, I think we'll leave it there. If there's any additional questions, feel free to send them in to either my email address here on the presentation. You can visit us at lifescience.norgren.com, or you can contact our sales team directly at Acro Sales. So if there's any questions we have not answered, we'll go through and collate the questions and help to make sure that you get a proper response back within the next couple of days. And I just want to thank you all for participating in today's webinar. We hope that you found the session useful. We'll be sharing the recording and answers to the questions over the coming days. And if you think of anything additional, please do not hesitate to reach out and contact us through the contact details on the slide here or the website. Thanks again. We look forward to seeing you at our next webinar, and have a fantastic day.